So I've just launched another session. Yeah, can you just refresh it? Can you see the live notification somewhere? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Professor Mustafa has joined. Good morning, Professor. Yeah, Victoria, I see you there. I'm just adding you. Hi, Rohit. Yeah, hi, Chari. Yeah. Now, a notification over there? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. I can see you now there. So you can drop this
Lovely.
call now. Yeah, yeah.
We can
Okay.
drop this call
Okay.
now.
Yeah, welcome back, Victoria.
Welcome back.
So there was technical glitch. So this proves actually we are not driven by technology. We drive technology. We are back now.
glad you were there to help out. My
So
goodness.
guys
Yeah.
will not wait much to
Let's get
start this
going.
conversation. Yeah, to start the
Just in case
conversation, we don't
technology
want to
fails.
take any chance. Right. Right. So I would like to introduce Victoria Moran from Australia. She's a competent nature cure practitioner and diagnostician. She had been trained under my mentor, Sir Kevin Hinton, late Sir Kevin Hinton. So over to you, Victoria. If you can just introduce yourself a little more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kalyan. Apologies for the technological problems we've been having, but we're here now, so that's the main thing. So yes, I'm Victoria Moran. I live in the tropics in North Queensland in Australia. I've been personally practicing nature cure for about 20 years now. I've raised two beautifully healthy children under the guidance of Nature Cure, and I've now been practicing as a qualified Nature Cure practitioner for the last 3 years here in Cairns. But I work with people all around the world because the nature of Nature Cure allows us to do that. Once we get the diagnostics done, then we're basically educating people to take charge of their own health ongoing for life, because as I remember my very excellent teacher, Mr. Kevin Hinton, saying on many occasions, it's not rocket science. Living in health, you just need to know how to do it, and anyone can do it. So Kalyan and I have been having regular conversations with each other for quite some time now, and we decided to invite you all and get you to join in and hear a bit about the things we chat about. And so yeah, today we're going to talk a bit about the subject of disease and the subject of suppression, which everybody finds very confusing with Nature Cure. When people first come to Nature Cure, we really have to ask them to unlearn a few things that they've always believed as solid, concrete fact, because some things that we believe in are not necessarily what the case happens to be. So I know, Kalyan, in your courses you teach people, at the beginning of your course, is it myths, debunking myths, or unlearning to learn? What have you got to say about that, Kalyan?
True. Yeah, so in my courses, actually, the first module is definitely the unlearning module. So we
Yes.
need to
Yeah, absolutely.
unlearn a lot of things to understand this particular science, amazing science rather, science and philosophy both
Absolutely.
combiningly. So,
Yes.
so why to unlearn? If somebody asks why to unlearn, because the other day somebody was asking that whether a nature cure is mandatory for healthy living or not. The answer is no, it is not. Nature cure is just human interpretation of nature and a kind of explanation of the nature. But if suppose there was no drifts at all from the nature cure would have not been needed at all. Because of the drift, we need to drift back to shift ourselves,
Indeed.
to sync ourselves with nature. So that is the
Yes.
reason to understand the drift. where we went wrong in deciphering the nature's what you can say, indications and nature's norms and rules, whatever you name it.
Laws.
But nature has got a pattern, laws, right? So to
Yes.
understand that back, we need to unlearn few myths. That's why unlearning is very much needed to start this journey. So on that note, actually, I have a few questions, actually, Victoria, for you,
Yes.
that I have noted down. So see, this unlearning thing is definitely needed. But while unlearning, we need to relearn few of the things, kind of
Yes.
understanding cure under the light of this phenomenal science. So while understanding the cure, we most of the time we get confused that suppression is a cure. For example, in fever,
Absolutely.
we take a pill and we get rid of fever, and we consider that we get cured. So how do you explain that to the audience, Victoria?
Well, I think if you want to talk about suppression, you really first have to understand what disease actually is. And disease is not an entity. It is not a thing. You know, fever is not the disease. Toxemia is the disease. We talk in Nature Cure, we talk about the unity of disease. And we say, and this is a big jump for people who are first coming to Nature Cure, we say that there is only one disease, and the disease is toxemia. It's an altered state of the composition of the blood. And when the blood is holding a lot of waste material, this is what we call toxemia. And so disease, as opposed to being an entity, a thing, something you catch, disease is a process. And the process, when it begins in a fairly light state, for want of a better word, where it is what we call acute, where the body is actively trying to heal itself. And the acute efforts of the body is the fever. So if we decide that we're going to take, if we say the fever is inconvenient, the fever is painful, the fever is unpleasant, the fever hurts, we're going to take something to stop the fever. And say we take some form of medication and the fever is stopped. Well, all we have done is we have suppressed the body in its efforts. And suppression continues on, and so the disease process continues on. And we find that people get sicker and sicker, and they wonder why their body this is starting to happen, the next thing's starting to happen. And when we look at it, we can see the progression in diagnostics. We can easily see the progression of disease in a person. And one thing just leaks to another, and you can see that every time the body's tried to heal itself, the body's been suppressed. So if we talk about disease as being a process, the very first process of the disease is irritation. Something we're doing or something we're consuming is causing irritation to the cells and the tissues of the body. And there we have irritation. Now, if we do not remove the cause, and this is where Nature Cure and medicine differ greatly. In Nature Cure, the number one thing we look to is to identifying and removing the cause. Whereas in medicine looks to using some form of medicament to settle a symptom. They never look to remove a cause. And so for example, if you had a headache and you took a headache tablet and the headache went away, in medical terms they would say, well, we've cured the headache with this pill, so that'd be an aspirin, a paracetamol. In Nature Cure terms we say, well, there's been only suppression of the pain and it's only a matter of time until it comes back again. And this is the cycle. So the cycle starts with irritation, and then after a while it becomes inflammation. And then if the process continues and suppression continues, it becomes ulceration, then hardening, and eventually we get to cancer. And cancer is merely the end stage of the disease process. Another fundamental departure between medicine and Nature Cure is in Nature Cure we say disease is a healing process. We say all disease is a reparative process. It's not something to be feared, it's not something to be suppressed. And in Nature Cure we work with the body, we do not work against it, we do not continue to suppress it. So we want to stop the process, because actually a client said to me the other day, I know if I keep going like this, I'm just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I said to them, because all of my clients, by the time they finish working with me, I will have said to them, I think a good 100 times, disease is a process, because I think this is something that is really hard for people to grasp. And she said to me, I'm just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And I said, oh, what did you just say to me then? I said, I think you just said to me in different words that disease is a process, and the process progressively gets worse and worse and worse. And why does it keep getting worse and worse and worse? Because every time the body has tried to heal itself, we suppress it. And that basically is medicine. That is basically how they work. You know, in Nature Cure, when we talk about cure, you know, to cure a person, it means you were sick or you were injured, and then by some method you have become well again, and well, completely well. So whatever the problem was, it is gone, and it's gone completely from the body. It's not lurking down there waiting to come back up again. Now that's cure. Cures can only ever be affected if a cause has been removed. So for example, the headache, if we have a headache and we take a headache tablet, there is in no way a cause been addressed here. Merely we have taken something to suppress the symptom, and we know absolutely that that headache or migraine is only a matter of time until that comes back again. Why is it going to come back again? Because you've only temporarily suppressed a symptom. So yeah, that's where Nature Cure, you know, looks at the picture compared to medicine. And in Nature Cure, we teach people.
Yeah. When you say that
We
it
teach,
starts
yeah.
at the irritation, it starts at the irritation. Every disease
Correct.
starts at the
Yeah.
irritation. That's a great
Yes.
cue actually for all the
Absolutely.
people to understand,
Yes.
because the
Yeah.
irritation is sensed by us, and
Yes.
there is a term called the voice of the organism. Would you like to tell about the voice of the
Yes.
organism little on that to identify the irritation?
The voice, absolutely. Well, you know, it's another thing. When we're working with clients, we teach them all the time from day. For some reason, where man is currently in this state of evolution, we're at a point where we've learned to ignore our bodies. Whereas in Nature Cure, we teach people to listen to the voice of the organism. Your body will never give you wrong information. So if we have a headache, it's because our body is telling us something is wrong, and something is wrong inside. You know, pain anywhere in the body is pressure. And so whenever we feel pain, whether it's in our shoulder, in our neck, in our lower back, in our knees, our joints, anywhere, in our stomach, oh my goodness, how many people get pain in the intestinal tract? It's our body telling us something is wrong. It's not, you know, and we tend to just continue to barrel along in our lives and ignore the pain until the pain becomes too great. So, and we're all guilty of that, me included. We're busy
So I
people, we
think
keep
we
going,
have few comments also.
and we
Yeah,
just,
while you continue, I'll just
yeah,
go through the comments and I'll get back to you if some comments
yeah, okay.
have some questions also.
Ask any
Guys,
questions, yeah,
those who
please,
are in the
absolutely.
like listening to us, they can
Yeah,
post your you can post your comment in the question in the comment section. We'll take those questions also.
yeah.
Please, Victoria, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, when I work with when I work with anybody, you know, I'm teaching them from day one that disease is a process and that they need to listen to the voice of the organism. With hunger, with pain, with thirst, with are you tired? Are you feeling a lot? You know, we learn to operate according to, you know, the voice of the organism, as opposed to, well, somebody's told me now it's time to wake up, now it's time to eat, now it's time to do this. We start to listen to the voice of the organism. We eat when we're hungry, we drink when we're thirsty, we sleep when we're tired. You know, we do the most amount of physical work when the vitality is at its highest.
Yeah.
So
So we
that's the
have a
voice of the
question
organ.
from Professor Mustafa from Bangladesh. He is a good friend
Yes,
of mine. So
yes.
he posted this question: is there any stage of the disease can be identified to be auto healed by nature cure, or any stage is okay? I mean, if
Sorry,
it
that's my
is
dog.
in acute stage, will medicine be inevitable?
Medicine, sorry about my dog in the background there. Medicine is not inevitable in any stage of the disease process. In every stage, I've worked with people at every stage of the disease process, and at every stage of the disease process, it all comes back to firstly, you know, and this is why diagnostics is so important. We need to look at why the body is in the state of health, and we diagnose and we find out where the cause is. The very, very first step in every state of disease is to remove the cause. Now, the difference between an acute disease and a chronic disease is an acute disease is where the body has enough vitality available to itself, and it raises its temperature, and it raises it above 37 degrees Celsius, which I believe is 98.6
98.6.
degrees, 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Thank you
Yeah,
for
Fahrenheit.
confirming.
Yeah,
Because I'm in a Celsius country here. 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So now, when the body raises a fever, we do nothing. We get out of the way. This is where nursing comes in. You know, we do nothing. You know, if we suppress the body when there is a fever in progress, that is where the biggest amount of damage is done, because that's where the body is mustering the majority of its nerve force to heal. And if we suppress the body when it's in a fever, the body will have no choice but other than to lay this waste material deeper down into the tissue, deeper down into the cells. And this is where chronic disease begins. Chronic disease is a result of suppression. So every
right. We
disease that you
have
can
another
put into
question.
that basket.
Right.
I hope
So
that answered the
thanks,
question.
Victoria, for that. We have another question. What can we do if we get some cue from our body, from Nidhi? This question is, again, she rephrased the question. How can we heal our body if we get some cues from from body, from the body? Yeah.
Well, if the
Cues.
body is giving cues, yes, as in
Yeah, yeah.
indicators, yeah.
Indicators. Yes.
Yes, so if the body is giving you indicators that something is wrong, then that's when we need to stop and assess and analyze our diet and lifestyle, because, you know, the cause of all disease is either one, mental, two, chemical, or three, you know, mechanical, structural and physical. So we must always look to those three areas. You know, simply somebody eating a good diet. So I say to people, you know, nature cure is not a diet. Nature cure is a lifestyle, you know, and when we are looking, when we're diagnosing, when we're looking to someone and we're looking, why has this disease become so strong in this person? Well, we look at the hereditary state of the person, their strengths and weaknesses. We have to look at their whole history, you know, right back to childhood, right back to ask people what was the state of health of their parents, you know, how did the pregnancy go, you know, were you breast, you know, we go right back, and we look at everything we can, and we formulate, we can always locate the cause, always, absolutely. And it is always one of three things. It's mental, it's chemical being, you know, largely the diet, but certainly can be use of, you know, pharmaceutical or alternate medical type preparations, can be use of recreational drugs, alcohol, can be exposure to chemicals. Some people work in environments and live in cities where their exposure to chemicals are higher than others, or it's structural, and that's where we look to the spine. And you know, Mr. Jaffrey always used to say, if you're having trouble locating the cause, you will always find it in the spine. And his words have rung in my ears so many times in my practice. So we
I'm
always
sure.
look to the spine. Absolutely, yeah. But
I'm
you
sure.
know,
I'm
if your
sure.
body is talking to you, you must identify the cause and remove it.
Right, right, right.
essentially. Yeah.
So this cues actually that reminds me when this if we get some cues from the body, see the cues actually starts from the beginning itself. Like when the disease has not appeared in the body, the process has not
Absolutely.
start to reverse. The cues are there at the initial stage also. I do
Absolutely.
give this example of chili.
Yeah.
So in India, chili is a popular food,
Very popular.
though like it cannot be consumed singly because
Yes.
chili singly cannot be consumed, and that's
No.
the enough cue. That's the enough cue,
Yeah.
and that's the voice of the organism. Any food
Absolutely.
which cannot be eaten singly, or rather cannot be enjoyed
Yeah.
eating singly, is not our food. That's the enough cue
Absolutely.
from our
No.
body, and that's what we call one of the examples of the voice of the organism, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I often, it reminds me, Kalyan, I'm actually from New Zealand and I grew up in New Zealand, and my grandmother would always dish up the meal on the table, and the first thing she would do is she'd get the pepper grinder and she'd grind pepper all over her meal. And and as she was grinding the pepper, she'd always start sneezing. And I say to
Yes.
people, where's the start of the digestive tract? There. Your body's going, and what is your body doing? It's
Rejection.
irritating you. It's irritating you before you even come into physical contact with it. Your body's
Yes.
going, get it away from me, you know. So this is not a food for the human organism. Absolutely, irritation, and
Absolutely.
so much
Absolutely. We
irritation
have some
starts in the
question.
digestive tract.
Yeah, we have some question. Professor Mustafa is asking again. Some friends with diabetes
Yes,
ask me whether a nature cure can help them. Will they continue with
absolutely.
medicine too as they take medicine now? Will diabetes can be removed if they go by nature cure?
Absolutely. Well, what is diabetes? Diabetes is a state where the pancreas, which releases insulin, we're talking about pancreatic exhaustion here. And so the body is no longer able to release enough insulin, and so we get high blood sugar level. And this is diabetes is just the most obvious disease of excess. It's a disease of dietary excess. It is, and when we talk about disease being a process, it is a process that will either progressively build, or it's a process that can be broken down, that can be, taken away. We can reverse the process providing the body has enough nerve force. But diabetes responds absolutely brilliantly to the ways and methods of nature cure. And as far as medication goes, well, here in Australia, we're very cautious when we talk about taking people off the medication. In Australia, the law is very strong that, legally I cannot work with people to take them off medication. They need to go back to their doctor. But you see, as people's diet and life, and it's not, and with diabetes, we need to look to not just the diet, there's other areas we need to look to, but when we look at all areas and we get the person on the right diet, the right lifestyle, the diabetes is just going
So
to
rather
reverse,
on that point,
then they can ease off their medication. Yeah.
right, right. On that point, Victoria, that legality of taking the people off medication.
Yes.
Actually, the true nature cure objective is not that. It
Yes.
is just to educate people, and then people need to decide about themselves
Absolutely.
whether this consuming medicine is adding to the toxin or not. That they need to
Yes.
identify, and they need to
Yes.
continue and take the responsibility on your own. We are just
Absolutely.
here to explain the science behind building up
Yes.
of the toxin. On that note, I would ask Victoria to explain little about the toxemia, the single disease we identify in nature cure.
So we talk about the unity of disease, and when we talk about the unity of disease, this is, Louis Kuhn first came up with this, back in the late 1800s, and he identified that disease is not or a myriad of all different things. It's actually, there is only one disease, and the disease is toxemia. Now, toxemia is a state of impaired blood, where the blood is holding more waste material than it should in health. Now, when we talk about the body and how it works, metabolism. You've heard the words metabolism before. Well, metabolism is two things. It's anabolism, which is the building up of cells, and it's catabolism, which is the breaking down of cells. And this is a vital process that's going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in our body. Now, when our body has enough nerve force, then the amount of toxic, broken down metabolic waste material will be eliminated through the organs of elimination easily and naturally, and there will be no surfeit, no excess of this residue in the bloodstream. So we have three organs of elimination. They are the lungs, the kidneys, and the skin. So when the lungs and the kidneys and the skin can handle the workforce that is handed to them by the process of metabolism, the body will live in health. When the body no longer has enough nerve force to handle the amount of waste material that is present in the system, then their body has no choice but to lay this waste material down, because it has not got enough nerve force to eliminate it. So this is where toxemia begins. And I remember in my studies the great words of Henry Lindlar. He said, "The disease is simple. Man is the great study." So the disease is toxemia. Where the body manifests it, where the body lays it down, how quickly it progresses, is all down to the individual. It's down to, the quality of cells and tissues that the person was handed to them at the point of conception, and it's down to their diet and lifestyle. It's what you were given and what you're doing with it. That's it. There's no mysteries.
Absolutely.
Simple as.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
So
on that
toxemia.
note, since you have mentioned about the eliminating organ,
Yes.
I'd like you to explain a bit more about that, because there is a lot of confusion about intestine considered as eliminating organ, So
Absolutely.
the
Well,
constipation is considered as the
yeah.
cause of the disease, whereas it is
Yes.
actually the effect of the disease. So can you
It is
light?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Constipation is the effect of the disease. You're absolutely right there. It is not the cause in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the digestive tract starts here and it ends at the anus, and it is not an organ of elimination. It's an organ of digestion. It is our digesting organ, and it's designed to digest the food, break it down into such a small component that it's able to dissolve through the wall of the intestine, and then it becomes our blood. When we say to people, this concept that food is medicine and that we're going to heal ourselves with great diet. Well, no, we're not going to. Food is not medicine, and we're not going to heal ourselves with a diet. The healing process is primarily the domain of the organism itself. But when the diet
Victoria,
is
we have another
correct?
question actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
we have another very interesting question. Sorry to interrupt in between.
Sorry, no worries.
We have a very interesting question from Deepak Chatterjee. He's an ex-colleague of mine actually.
Yes,
when I was
yes,
there
lovely.
in Indian Air Force.
Yes.
He was there with me. So he posted this question: why not follow medicine and nature cure practice parallelly to take the maximum benefits? So that's an interesting conclusion, that it is the underlying consideration is medicine for benefits. So can you throw some light on that?
Absolutely. I've got Kenneth Jaffrey's words ringing in my ears. Kenneth Jaffrey, he said, medicine and nature cure are diametrically opposite practices. East is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. There is nothing, because we do not practice medicine. Nature cure does not practice medicine in any way, shape, or form. Medicine identifies symptoms and suppresses symptoms while causes remain in effect. Nature cure identifies the cause and we remove the cause. We provide the requirements of biological health for all human beings, and then we allow the body to rest when it indicates that it is going into a cycle of healing. In no way, shape or form, in any way can medicine be used when you are practicing nature cure. There is nothing to be, the systems are absolutely diametrically opposite. Nature, like I said, nature cure says we must remove the cause. Medicine ignores the cause. Medicine just treats symptoms, and medicine suppresses
Having
symptoms.
said that, I must add to this, Deepak.
Yeah.
In the process of transition, actually both the things can be looked into, and the start of nature cure lifestyle, or rather the transition, is identifying the voice of the organism, and slowly and gradually, you will be understanding that how the medicine goes against the voice of the organism. So sudden stoppage of medicine is not recommended. I don't recommend anybody to stop medicine
No,
right
never.
away, but
Never.
you need to just identify and acknowledge that whether it is an addition to the toxin buildup or it is some relief. So that understanding is very much needed. We have some more comments.
Yeah.
From Colonel Pathak, Colonel Pramod Pathak, a good friend of mine. Actually, he's still serving in Indian Army. He says that there isn't a matter yet invented to check toxemia and vitality by common man. So this forces a person to depend on a doctor. This forces a person to depend on a doctor and medicines. Nature cure empowers, and a person can then confidently go off medicine. Especially true for a diabetic patient. Nicely explained. Yeah. So this is not a question, Victoria. Do you have any comments on that?
I agree. Like I have lots of clients come to me who are on medication, and I say to them, this is going to be a progressive, you need to progressively reduce this, because people come to me, they want the best health possible. So I talk to them about what they're going to need to do to achieve that, and coming off their even actions are just keeping you in a precarious state of balance, then they're doing absolutely nothing. Those insulin injections do not remove the cause. They merely suppress it.
Yeah.
They're balancing your symptom. That's all they're doing. Yeah. So yeah.
Right. We have another
and
question from Rohit.
Eventually you will be able to come off the medication.
Yeah. So Rohit asked that. Okay, Rohit thanks us actually for such an educating discussion. Thank you, Rohit, identifying that.
Thank you.
Rohit is a colleague in applied psychology fraternity, actually. So Rohit asked that how can we begin to detoxify our body?
Well, the body goes through a cycle of
yeah.
Yes, can you hear me? Yep. Well, the body goes through a cycle of detoxification every single day. How can you begin to detoxify? You're doing it all the day. Your body is detoxifying itself. It's about stopping doing the things that are poisoning your body and working with the body. You go through a cycle of elimination and excretion every day from 4 a.m. in the morning until midday. So this is the time of the day where our body is using the majority of its nerve force, in the organs of elimination and excretion. And you wake up in the morning, your urine is very dark, your kidneys have been working on overdrive for hours. Your breath is foul, your lungs are excreting waste material through that method, and your skin is eliminating at that time of the day as well. So with Nature Cure, we teach people to work in accordance with the cycles of the body, and we look at the diet, of course, so that the body's, you're not imbibing in these poisons and chemicals.
So we have another question from Professor Mustafa. Can you kindly explain the difference between or relationship amongst the term vitality and energy? need to understand the extent of vitality. Could you please, Victoria?
Well, vitality, where vitality is something that is bequeathed to the baby the minute the sperm hits the ovum. We are born with all when we talk about vitality, we talk about nerve force, and at times we are born with all of the nerve force we will ever have. I say to people, think of yourself as a battery, one of these batteries, and when you're born you've got this full quotient of, some people might have batteries that big, some people might have bigger ones. It's bequeathed at the point of conception, and as we live our lives, and depending on how we live our lives, it goes down and down and down. And sometimes people simply don't have enough nerve force left to heal from the state of disease or injury that they find themselves in. And that is, but there are times in our lives where we're working very hard, we're very stressed, our diet is poor, we might be smoking, and we are suppressing the body very, very heavily. And so at those times, our vitality is suppressed. And so, I work with clients, who we are trying to raise the vitality. Essentially the first thing we want to do is raise their vitality, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to get the body back to a normal state where they have enough nerve force for the body to be able to heal itself. So we
beautiful comments actually. A few great comments coming in actually from Colonel Pathak. Nature cure and medicines can go parallel if food is medicine. Excellent.
But food is not medicine.
yeah. So SP, my friend actually, Surinder Pal Singh, he's a senior faculty of Art of Living. Are you aware about Art of Living?
No, I'm afraid I've not heard of it.
So it's a life modification courses actually in India and abroad. Great. Also it's conducted. So by Sri Ravi Shankar ji. So he's a senior faculty there. So he actually appreciates such awesome responses. Victoria, appreciate your inputs. Now, Deepak actually re-raised his question actually, if you remember that Deepak asked that whether the medicine and nature cure can go parallelly or not. So he is asking supplements. What is your view on the supplements?
Can you just ask that again, please?
Supplements. I'm talking. So he's asking about the supplements.
What is sorry, I didn't hear that. Supplements, yeah. Okay, well, supplements, first and foremost, when it comes to supplements, you must understand that the body, the human organism has absolutely no capacity to turn a vitamin or a mineral in its inorganic state into living tissue. So, that is the domain of plants. Plants can take up, inorganic minerals from the earth, and then they turn that into living tissue in their body of the plant, in the fruit. And that is how we can take in, so to say to people that you need some vitamins and you can take it in pill form is absolutely wrong. For a start, in Nature Cure, we say the disease is, there's a lot of money to be made saying that the disease that you have, the state of ill health that you are suffering, is due to a deficiency. I've never had anybody in my clinic who is sick because of a deficiency. A true deficiency is where, where the diet is not providing enough nutrients and therefore there is something missing in the person's diet. When I see people where the nutrients, where they're having a problem, is because the digestive tract is so loaded with chronic waste material that the body is just so encumbered it cannot handle what is being presented to it. So do we just keep putting more and more and more in? That's crazy thinking. The organism cannot deal with what's being dealt to it already, and so we go, well, we're missing something, so we'll just keep putting more in, and so we keep adding more, and what happens when
that reminds me actually
what happens
yeah
I was just going to say,
that reminds me Sir Kevin's word. Yeah, please go on
I was just going to say, when we introduce something in a pill form, you know, it's remember, this is, something is inorganic, it's dead, it has no life force. We swallow that down and we get a response from the organism. Now, it's not the pill acting on the body, it's the body acting on the pill. And when anything that we ingest, the body has to respond to it. Anything, food, medicine, supplements, whatever. So the body changes its symptom complex, but it's a suppression. Suppression is all we get when we take supplements. There's no healing going on there. So what did
Yeah,
Mr.
so
Kevin
that
mention
actually
a moment
reminds me, Sir Kevin's word.
Yeah.
Sir Kevin used to share that the deficiency, the true deficiency is the starvation.
Yes.
And two sentences that actually I also include in my courses, that
Yes.
everything has got everything if it is
Yes.
organic.
Absolutely.
Everything has got
Absolutely.
everything, and
Absolutely.
we
Yeah.
have the capability to extract anything out of anything.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So
And
yeah, with that
he always
there are
used to,
some. Yeah,
can I
yeah,
just say
go on.
quickly, he used to give me this
Yeah,
example of supplements, and he said, right, so I'm going to get myself a pot, and I'm going to fill it with soil, and I'm going to put these tablets, this vitamin tablets, in the soil, and I'm going to water it, and I'm going to put it out in the sunshine, and I'm going to come back in a few days and see if it's sprouted. And we used to laugh. And he would say, there is no life force in supplements. There is nothing living. There is no life force. They have nothing to offer the organism. So, dead inert.
yeah. So there is
Yeah.
some comment from Professor Mustafa again.
Yes.
Yeah, some people think we can increase vitality by eating rich food like beef, etc. So we need to understand more about the vitality management. I am confused about
Absolutely.
vitality and energy, since both are same. Yeah. So
Well,
would you
I
take
think
that?
people think,
Yeah.
well, people think we get energy from food. We don't get energy from food. Food is fuel. Food is what, the body, runs on, but it is not energy. It doesn't provide, vitality is the domain of the nervous system. And eating, we are not a meat-eating animal. We have not one physiological characteristic on our bodies that says that we're designed to eat flesh foods, and we have become flesh-eating animals over thousands of years, but we're still physiologically a plant-eating animal. And so people think that we have people in who are athletes who are pushing their bodies beyond that which is physiologically healthy for the organism, and so they need to, the fuel requirement is massive to be able to force the bodies so heavily. But they're exhausted by the time they're 30. All elite athletes are absolutely physically, there's nothing left by the time they're 30,
Yeah.
so, and they've still got more than half of their life to go. So, nerve force and vitality is what we're born with. Food is what we fuel our body with. And once the body, if you have no more nerve force left, and you keep putting all these heavy foods into your body, and your body has not enough nerve force to digest those foods, toxemia as disease is just going to increase exponentially within that organism. Absolutely.
Yeah, so there is another question from SP, Surinder Pal Singh. Why can't we stop the medicines immediately if we have started following nature cure? So I'll take that, Victoria, with your
Yeah,
permission.
absolutely.
So,
Please.
yeah.
With
So,
pleasure.
see, SP, I must say that this is a conscious decision that we are making, right? To shift our lifestyle from convention to nature cure lifestyle. If we distribute that way, then the conscious portion of our existence is very tiny little. The beyond conscious portion of our existence is already conditioned with the conventional lifestyle, the medicine that you had been taking. Now, suddenly, if you shift to that, that might give a jerk, and definitely it will a enervating act for beyond of your existence, which is already conditioned with the medicines. So with our conscious understanding about life, slowly, gradually, when we shift towards non-medicine, that's a better and seamless process. But for few exceptional people who are very strong in their determination, they can definitely switch over to nature cure lifestyle by stopping the medicine immediately. That's my explanation. Victoria, anything you?
I'm afraid you're being quite pixelated and was very difficult for me to follow on what you said, so I'll just say, yeah, what he says. It's
Okay.
but you know, but I will just add one thing is, if anybody comes to me with medication, you know, it's always better to come off it, you know, piece by bit, rather than, you know, that's why I say to, you know, when people say contact working with me and they want to come off their medication, I say to them, well, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not trained in medicine, so I don't understand the ramifications of actually coming off this medication, and there may be contraindications to stopping it immediately, and that's why I always refer people back to their doctors. You know, they've begun living the nature cure lifestyle, their need for the medication will definitely reduce and disappear, but you know, they're still better off to work with their doctor to reduce their medication. The doctor will tell them whether it's safe for them to stop taking it altogether straight away, what the side effects may be if they do so, or whether it's better to, you know, ease themselves off that medication. So that would be my advice.
So there are a lot of compliments coming in. I have gone through the compliments. Kalyan and Victoria, great human initiative. Wishing you all the best and thank you once again. Deepak, thank you for the great explanation. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Professor Mustafa is also thanking us.
Thank you.
Of myth. Okay, we have a question now. It seems from Arvinder. Arvinder is a very good friend of mine. Arvinder says that doctors always create fear factor in the case. So Arvinder understand what they say, but they also wish to so in that route there could be some lack of understanding real health, or kind of background, educational background, which actually focuses on the symptoms. That's why it seems as a factor, but their intention cannot be doubted. That their intention is always to help us. And there are actually in
Yeah, absolutely.
there are a lot of MBBS, MD doctors, well qualified doctors are joining, and they're actually modifying their approach. Yeah, anything, Victoria? Yeah.
Kalyan, I'm sorry, but the quality of what I'm hearing of you is very pixelated. So, hello,
Okay.
can you hear me well, Kalyan?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, the quality, yeah.
Never
your
mind,
audio
Victoria, and
your audio has been coming through very pixelated. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right. We understand, and people will catch up on the record. So, Victoria, it was great, and it's a pleasure. And the audience that will these episodes soon, and we'll see you soon again. So, anything, Victoria, from your end to conclude the session?
Yes, well, thanks everybody for tuning in today. Sorry about our technological issues. Hopefully we'll be able to sort these out in future. And thank you for your questions. You know, from my point of view as a practitioner, you know, we have all this information in our heads, but, you know, sometimes it's, you know, for people to ask questions is a great thing, because then we know, you know, what you're thinking and where you're coming from. And there are a lot of areas when you first come to Nature Cure, there's a lot of new, you know, I think for myself, it probably took me a good couple of years before all of the Nature Cure philosophy and everything really had sunken in, and I really understood everything thoroughly. And I think, you know, there can be a bit of playing to and fro in that time, you know, but what about this, and but what about that? And so if you ask the questions, we can certainly answer those questions for you. So thanks for your active participation today, and I look forward to doing this again at some stage.
Yeah.
Have
Okay,
a beautiful day
Victoria.
in
So
India.
thanks once again for your time, and it's
Lovely.
afternoon there. I understand. Okay, so we'll end the
Yes, it
session,
is.
and we'll
Yep.
see you again,
Time
guys.
for me to break
Bye
my
bye.
fast.
Bye bye bye.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye.